Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School podcast and another edition of the best 20 games, not the top 20 games, the best 20 games of the Leon Rose era. Andrew Claudio, we have some splaining to do.
We sure do. Partially I have some splaining to do. And
I'm not putting this on you. I'm not putting this
Listen, the NBA finals happened. Then we had about a minute and a half to digest it. And then we went right into off-season mode and Vegas and Summer League. And then what else happened?
Fest.
Oh, Fanatics Fest. That's right. That 4-day extravaganza. Then a lot of content that we pre-recorded, as well as a very fun show at Kev's studios. I don't know if we're allowed to say where it is, but Bike Studios, and
mysterious location.
Yes, over there. And in planning out the list that we wanted to go throughout the summer, at least I heard a suggestion from you very early on, and I brushed it off. And then after going through one of these episodes with you, recognized it's actually probably the better path we should have taken. So go ahead.
My crazy suggestion was, hey, since we're probably going to have a lot of stuff from the same 3 or 4 or 5 playoff series, why don't we limit it potentially to 1 game per playoff series? And Andrew was like, no, I don't think we need to do that. So listen, it was, if I felt strongly about it, I would have pushed back. And I was like, you know what? There's a lot of great games and they all deserve talking about. I, the same as you, I think, realized after we were done with the show the other day, that it's hard to talk about a game within a playoff series without kind of covering the whole playoff series. And so for that reason, to your credit, you managed to do something that as only you could do, which is basically rejigger this thing on the fly. Not get everybody to revote, but get everybody on the faculty to add some additional games, specifically regular season games, to their rankings. And we are now going to pivot to making a new rule. And the rule is, as we just kind of alluded to, 1 game per playoff series. And so you might be asking, well, what about the episode that we just did, which was the 20th best game or top game at the time? Now it's best games. And that was the question I had for Andrew Claudio. And Andrew's response was?
Very simply, that's an honorable mention, because I think there's, in talking with a couple people just to get some feedback, and yourself included, I really only think the need, not like, is there a second game to talk about in a playoff series, but the need to talk about a second game or third game in a playoff series only applies to 3 series. And it's the one we just did, the Philly series, the Celtics series last year, which ironically we're about to talk about, a game in which the Celtics blew a 20-plus point lead. It's not going to apply to a playoff series, though. And then the NBA Finals. And rather than, because if you're doing top games, I think you're going to get a bunch from the most recent playoff run. In fact, some of the voting was very recency biased, which is fine. It's one of the best runs the Knicks have ever had. But I did not think it would be as interesting a list. And I think that's where your inclination came from. If it's just, let's relive game 1 against the Cavs. Oh, wait, we've already relived game 4 against the Cavs when they clinched to go to the finals like a week ago. So the certain series that we have to, it's mandatory, guys, we have to do a second game from the series. We'll do an honorable mention episode later on, which I believe is only going to apply to 2 other series. In the meantime, though, now we get to celebrate the entire Leon Rose era, which I think is the better, and I think you'd agree, is just the better exercise. Now the more characters are represented. There's certain years that didn't go anywhere, like the one we're about to talk about, that did have a moment, and we can fully celebrate these 6 years as best we possibly can.
Yes, and that was always the goal of this thing, and I find it to transition fitting that, and we did not. There was no jiggering to make it such that this was the case, but we are the first game on so our new number 20 is the oldest game, I believe. Second oldest game. Now I need to remind myself what's the oldest game. To make the list. I'm gonna forwards. What do you mean forward? 4 words. The number 4.
Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah. That'll be in about 2 weeks. We'll relive one game from that season and one game from this season.
Which is probably one more game from this season than I thought we were going to be reliving. So then it's appropriate. Well, it's appropriate in that it's an older game, not the oldest game on the list, but an older game. But the real reason I think this is the appropriate place to start is I think it is the only game on the list. And I think this is a good place to start. Is this the only game on the list, or is this the only game that was even in contention to make this list that has potentially a predominantly negative connotation to it?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay.
Potentially, because there is another game that like a player gets hurt in, but like the player survived it, and it's actually, so yeah, it wouldn't even, like, we are going to talk about a player reacting to a certain, well, why are we being vague? We're going to talk about Julius Randle putting his thumbs down and how the Julius Randle relationship was with Knicks fans at this point in January of 2022. There's another game in which like Jalen Brunson gets hurt in and leaves 47 seconds in, but like you just shrugged it off. I would also shrug it off. But as far as talking about negatively, it's the only thing thing I could think of. But to your point, yeah, we're going to talk about 20 games. This is the only one where someone's legacy might have been a bit damaged.
That's precisely. And that's a big difference. Like Jalen Brunson's legacy wasn't hurt in that game that we're going to talk about later. What happened was the legacy of that team took a step up. This is a fascinating game. And honestly, so again, just behind the scenes, the way that, and you can see the box score, we should say that the date of the game that we are talking about today is January 6th, 2022. I can't believe I just need to look that up.
Mm-hmm.
It always sticks out more in your mind than it does mine.
Yeah, January 6th sticks out more in my mind than yours. Yeah, tell my grandkids, this is where your grandfather was on January 6th.
There you go. So yeah, final score, Knicks 105.
Nope.
Knicks 108, excuse me. Celtics 105. That's what I was saying. Behind the scenes, when we were starting this project, just like wrote down, I think it was like 45 games or so that I thought would be in contention to make this list. And I just went season by season, like through the game logs, and I got to this game and I'm like, I had a moment where I'm like, I didn't know if I should even write it down. And I ultimately did. And I was like, let the people vote, and the people voted and it made it. So I find that to be very interesting. Before we get into the actual game, I thought the thing that would make the most sense to do is to just set the scene, because this was 4.5 years ago. So for anybody who may have forgotten, I think probably the best place to start would be exactly 1 week earlier, which was New Year's Eve. And actually, you'll remember this better than me. Did we hear the Julius news on New Year's Eve or the day before?
Morning of, I believe.
Was morning of. What I remember about it was I was heading to my cousin Michael's house to when the news hit, and as soon as I walked in the door, I'm like, I got to go to your office and record a video. Or maybe it wasn't even record a video, do a live stream.
We did a live stream. Yeah,
that's right. We did a live stream for my cousin. Wow.
This is before we had incorporated Zoom or StreamYard, and it was just you'll figure out how to go live through the YouTube app, and I believe you did it from your phone, and I was just like producing you from the chat.
That's
and
right.
That's 2022 was a lot of bells and whistles that were missing from the current operation.
And I remember the stream very well, because
To clarify, real quick, sorry to interrupt. To clarify, it was the day before, so it was December 30th that we got the news and did the live stream with the Knicks in OKC the next night.
And you know what? That actually makes sense because now that I'm thinking back to that day, I remember New Year's Eve being a day that I was like mostly in Brooklyn because we were living in Brooklyn at the time. And I would have been out in Long Island. So whatever. I remember the stream because I remember struggling with how to not be a complete and total asshole because the guy just got COVID. And at the time, not at the time, just like COVID, it was very dangerous. We didn't know about it. Like there were people that were dying from it all over the country, the whole thing. But at the same time, I was fully well aware that there was a part of many Knicks fans, now some larger part than others, who, when this news came down, were like, "Oh, I'm kind of curious to see what the team looks like without Julius Randle on the floor." We saw what the team looked like without Julius Randle on the floor. It was not very good. They lost pretty dispiritingly in both of the games that they played. One was at OKC, one was at Toronto. And then Julius comes back on January 4th. So the game before the game that we're talking about today. And again, I completely forgotten this until I looked it up earlier today. Has a wonderful game. And more than the fact that he has a wonderful game, 30 points on 20 shots, 16 rebounds, 4 assists. Do you know why that game was significant in, I don't know if I can say Knicks history, but like the history of that team?
Well, both he and RJ had 30 points in the game.
Yes. And do you know how many times they had done that previously in their career?
Zero.
It was the first time that RJ and Julius ever got 30 in the same game.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because they looked probably like I went back and read my newsletter from the day. Like they looked good together on the court. There was like good synergy, the whole thing. And it was like, okay, maybe there's something here. And then that got us to January 6th.
Well, so there's a couple other details I want to add. First of all, the actual report that we got word of on December 30th was that he entered health and safety protocols. So he tested positive for COVID. This was during the Omicron surge, which was a strand of COVID that was significantly more contagious, but less severe. I know this because my dad got it during the holidays this year. My uneducated theory is that we're in current times. Spider-Man is in theaters. Spider-Man: Brand New Day, the highest grossing movie in an opening weekend ever. Right. This December was when Spider-Man: No Way Home, which had one of the greatest reveals ever. Maybe not the best movie, but one of the better reveals with 2 other Spider-Men showing up in the movie. And it made over $2 billion. And there was still a quote unquote pandemic going on back then. And it got everybody just to go to the movies and go inside a non-air filtrated box for 2.5 hours.
That's a good call.
Only to see a surge in cases and positive tests a week later. So as far as
Tobey Maguire more for that or Andrew Garfield?
I blame Sony. I blame everybody involved. Yeah. Or maybe of the 6 villains in the movie. Pick one of them. The Green Goblin or Jamie Foxx's Electro. I loved Spider-Man, by the way, the new one. I hope people go see it.
That's very good.
All that to say, Julius, by all accounts and all reporting, was asymptomatic. So he had a positive test and then had no symptoms of COVID. So it was just, you have to wait 2-3 days isolation. The rules back then were that you had to be near nobody. And then if you have a negative test in 2 days, you can return to work.
Yeah.
And so he was back a week later after 2 days of them getting their doors blown off. They come back, they win. He scores 30. And if you remember that Pacers game, the Knicks shot 6 of 28 from 3. A lot of those looks are generated by Julius Randle. Could have had a triple-double that game, but nobody was hitting shots. But he still manages to get 30, 16, and 4. He's at the line for his 30th points in the fourth quarter. So point 29 and 30.
Yep.
And he hears RJ Barrett chants at the line. And then the next game is the one we're talking about on January 6th against the Celtics.
I also want to add one other small bit of information, which is that that game against the Indiana Pacers. So Evan Fournier, remember him? He was the starting shooting guard this entire season because they had just spent $72 million on him in the offseason. His stat line, for you to tuck in the back of your mind, in 22 minutes, 0 points. Missed all 4 shots that he took. So just tuck that away. And then the other thing to note about this little mini stretch of Knicks basketball, again, because all of this stuff kind of runs together, is that Kemba Walker was not a part of it. So we had the first 20 games where Kemba was a starting point guard. Then Kemba was banished to the shadow realm. And then because they were just so hit by injuries and illnesses and different things, Kemba comes back, wins Eastern Conference Player of the Week. And then I forget what the injury was. We got hurt, basically. And so he had been missing for a little bit of time, which did not mean, however, that Emmanuel quickly would be elevated into the starting lineup. So for this, for both that Pacer game before this, and then the game that we're here to talk about today, he did come off the bench. I think that's all the preamble that I wanted to get to. Is there anything else?
I think that sets the stage. Something going forward, I think we should do, though. Can we read the starting fives for both teams, or can you read the starting five for both teams going into this game?
Do that right now. So the starting five for the Knicks, as I said, Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, and Alec Burks. And then off the bench, Emmanuel Quickly, Taj Gibson, Obi Toppin, and Quentin Grimes. DMPCDs go to Deuce McBride, Jericho Sims, and still on the team, lest you forget, Kevin Knox, because they would not trade him for Cam Reddish until later this month, I believe.
Correct.
Starting lineup for the Boston Celtics, Eastern Conference champion, defending Eastern Conference champion.
No, not yet.
Oh, that's right.
This is the year that that's part of the context of this game, actually.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. I get my years confused sometimes. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, and Big Bob, Robert Williams, Time Lord. And then Dennis Schroeder is off the bench. Dennis Schroeder, Josh Richardson, my God, Grant Williams, and Enes Kanter. I don't care what it says on the box score. He is Enes Kanter to me. And so we start off with what I feel is probably going to be the most interesting question. This is the grandkids question. What are you're telling your grandkids about this in 30 years? What are the first couple of words out of your mouth? And I think for this game, it's simple. Is this the thumbs down game, or is this the RJ shot?
I think if I'm telling my grandkids about this era of Knicks basketball and then talking about this game, probably the only notable game from this season, it's a microcosm of how that season went, where I just flatly, RJ had a terrible game, which is awful. And they went down
until the last 3 minutes, which we're going to get to.
So we're talking the majority of the game. He was awful.
Yep.
Randle scoreless the first 21 minutes of the game, then erupts. And in the midst of his eruption, starts to get a bit emotional with the crowd. And then there's just the version of Evan Fournier that we got this night, where a record-setting season at the time for him, this was one of those nights where he just had it going. It was just a microcosm of this push and pull that they had, where there's a version of the team where if you give the keys to RJ, he could have high volume, but you don't know how good you are. And then what do you do with Julius? And for the most part, when you give the keys to Julius and he's on the floor with RJ, like, what do you do? And the fit just looks so clunky in the first half. And then, okay, here comes this guard off the bench from Kentucky. Every time he's in, they have this crazy plus minus. For some reason, he's not the starting point guard. And the whole Quickly argument gets played out. And even like he didn't hit a ton of shots. This isn't one of those like 20 plus, 30 plus point games from Quickly. simply when he's on the court, they're guarding him. And now Randle has these runways to get downhill. And I just, the push and pull of this season and the frustrations that a lot of Knicks fans had, this is fully a representation of how this season went for the most part, except the Knicks actually won this game. So
they did.
Yeah.
So you took the easy way out.
Oh, is it the thumbs down game to answer your question? Like, I think it's a thumbs down game.
It's a thumbs down game.
Yeah.
And I think, so it's just funny. You just mentioned Fournier. It's like so telling about this Knicks season and where this team was at this particular time that a guy who's like, he never won a gold medal in international competitions, so he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. Like Schroeder will probably. Fournier will not, because again, has that one piece missing from his resume. But like one of the more notable international players, I don't know, this century in terms of what he has meant for France, and like a pretty good NBA player, like never an all-star, but a guy who was like a notch down from ever being considered like in that conversation. Listen, Knicks
I think he's a notch. I think that's fine. A lot of people make a lot of money that shouldn't. He's a notch down from the notch down, I think.
I would wager that if you went back and listened to some, like, to the extent that there were podcasts when he was a member of the Orlando Magic, like at the end, what I always like to say is like at the end of the podcast in which they have the full out all-star discussion, it's like oh, you know what? We should probably mention, you know, this guy. He would always be a guy that would, like, not always, a couple of years, he would be a guy that would get mentioned.
That's the argument. Magic fans thought that Evan Fournier was an all-star.
No, not Magic fans, like general NBA. I can't believe we're going to start off the pod by pulling up Evan Fournier's freaking stats with the Magic. But
that's where we're going. Like,
my point is,
there was a conversation that probably wasn't that intelligent about Evan Fournier making an all-star team.
Averaged almost 19 points a game with the Magic 1 year. Neither here nor there. The point is, very notable player, had a very long 12-year NBA career, brilliant international, whole thing. Arguably the best game of his career. And it is the fourth thing that any Knicks fan will think about when they think about this game, behind the thumbs down, the RJ shot, and not like, it wasn't that it was the best Immanuel Quickley performance of his young career.
Oh, okay.
But it was as you phrased it, I think, very well. It was completely and totally emblematic of what he could be, what he should be, and what, I mean, unfortunately, would never really get the chance to be here. But yeah, to answer the question, it's always going to be the thumbs down game for me, because I think when you're talking about its relevance, I relate this game, sadly, to the day that Julius Randle was traded, which when I saw that news when I was sitting in that movie theater, I was like, oh my God, Dante's gone. Oh my God, we got Cat. And then a distant third was, oh, Julius isn't Nick anymore. And I think, I'm not saying that this game itself was why. It was not this game that was why. It is why. But like, I think when I think about the roller coaster ride that was Julius Randle, this is the symbol of that roller coaster ride.
Yeah, he didn't ever end a Knicks season on a high note. You know, you could argue the highest note he ever finished with the Knicks when he got hurt.
Yeah, when he got hurt.
So that's part of the Julius Randle conversation for sure. Like a lot of Knicks fans felt the way you did when they traded Randle. When the Cat trade was made, it was Dante first, Cat second, Randle third. And I think that was part of his frustration, which led to the thumbs down. And part of it is probably, again, never met the guy, would never spend too much time trying to get inside his mind, because it just seems like lots going on there.
You know what I'm thinking of?
What?
Can I say this is not a spoiler? The moment in the new Spider-Man movie where there were characters' reactions like, Oh, wow.
Lots going on in there. Right. So like,
if you know, you know.
Yes. If you know, you know, and arguably the correct superhero comp for Julius Randle.
Oh my God.
I just look,
Hero
there was very clearly, and this is part of the Julius Randle conversation where he showed up, and I know Sean's done a great job to champion him. Asinine take. And I understand although a lot of people agree with him about I have Julius over Melo, which is not my take, it's Sean's. But Julius showed up as a consolation prize to KD and Kyrie in 2019 and was largely treated that way, playing next to an inefficient rookie named RJ Barrett, and every other player on the roster also played his position. Then year 2, works his butt off, turns himself into not just an all-star, not just an all NBA player, a borderline MVP candidate, finished right outside the top 10. Right outside the top 5 for MVP that year, and has a horrible playoffs. House of Cards fell, but you're going into this season thinking, all right, we got one of the pieces solidified. We have our all-star. Now, what other all-star are we going to pair with Julius Randle? And the regression he showed because long 2 stopped falling through the first 3 months of this season largely led to conversations about, okay, let's just pivot off of this to RJ and pivot off of this to this young team with RJ and Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin. Like, that's the other part of this is the Obi Toppin conversation.
Yeah, very much so.
And Julius is like, I made an all-star team for you guys. Like, we were the 4 seed last year. I'm going through it. I'm having a bad season, but why are you guys turning on me so quickly? Which then leads to the thumbs down moment in the first half. In the second half.
It needs to be said. This is obvious, but it needs to be said that like it wasn't just that the shots stopped falling. It was everything about. It was the body language. It was like almost like he didn't want to be out there. With whether it was with Kemba Walker or whatever. And then in regards to the RJ part of it, it's like I still I'll always have the slam cover up somewhere. I'm never going to live in a house where it's not. Wait, no, hold on.
Is it on the screen? There it is. It's right there. You him and RJ.
The feeling. So, it was supposed to be Julius and RJ, and then it turned into Julius or RJ. And then it's funny because when Jalen Brunson got here, it really turned into Julius or RJ because it was clear that Brunson was part of the answer. And it was just clear that when all 3 of those guys were on the court together, it just never worked. But when Brunson was on there with one of them, it did work. All right, let's go through some of the other categories because I think that'll bring out a lot of what else there is to talk about, starting with, I should say, the play of the game, which will be one of the easier ones for this. Here's the only question I have for this one. Is the RJ Barrett shot, I wouldn't even say top 10. Is it a top 20 shot of the Leon Rose era? Because the reason why I'm asking what?
It's a whole different list. I think it would be like this game, we would have to add some caveats to get it in there.
No, here's the thing.
I think it would fall in like the top 15, top 20.
I asked, I was going to say top 10. I'm like, screw it, top 20. I feel like this shot is either top 5 for you or like not in the top 25, because ultimately it came in a game that did not end up mattering at all. Whereas we have now had in this playoffs alone, there were you could point to game 4 against the Spurs and point to 5 shots or 10 shots that you could argue were bigger shots in Knicks history than this RJ shot. So I just think it either matters a lot to you or its meaning has completely dissipated over the years. And for me, I'm more towards the latter, but it still means something.
Again, I think it cracks the top 20 if you're making caveats. Like only one per game. Right. And then you have to.
No caveats. What about no caveats?
I don't like you just said, I could probably just make a top 20 out of game 4 of the finals. I could probably make a top 20 out of just the finals. And before I even consider a regular season moment, there are other games that are going to have big shots that we're going to talk about. One from Julius Randle that Now, so here's the more fascinating question to ask. Is this RJ's biggest shot as a Knick?
Well, let's save that for one of the later categories because I think that is a more interesting question, but let's save that one. Forgotten play of the game. This is interesting. I think you go a couple different directions here. I actually had two, and I'm going to go with the RJ lob to Mitch to tie it at 1-on-1 all with just a little over a minute left. Close for me, though, was the Emmanuel Quickly runner to give them a 2-point lead. And maybe it's worth going through how this game actually ended.
I was about to say, we should give some game scripts. So an idea of how this game went for those people who missed. I should say a discovery I had as a result of prepping for these pods. Now you can rewatch games going all the way back to the 2020-21 season. So the season before this on League Pass. So that is hyperlinked in the description of this episode. You can go back if you have a League Pass subscription and just go right to the condensed game, the all possessions game, or like John and I did, go and look at the full broadcast if you'd like to. This was a TNT game on a Thursday night, I believe, with what's his face and Stan Van Gundy on the call. So
what's his face?
I got completely blanked on the guy. The guy usually does the late night games. He does a really good job, but it's apparently so notable that I forgot his name.
So in order to contextualize the end of the game, we should probably go to the run of the game, which I'd be surprised if you had something different than me. The score was 81-61.
Yep.
Early in the third quarter, Knicks were down by 20 as they made a habit of doing against this Celtics team. And they went on a 21-3 run to close the gap to 84-82. During that run, Emmanuel Quickly scored 9 points. Evan Fournier got the run started with 6 points, couple of threes. Julius closed the third quarter with back-to-back buckets. But it was really a Quickly run. Again, I went back and looked at my newsletter the next day. There was a Quickly steal that preceded one of the second Fournier three, where it was just classic Quickly, like right place, right time, knew the pass before it was going to be thrown. And so he was really the energy behind that. And then,
I might have missed it. You said like what's significant, why this is specifically a Quickly run, right?
I mean, he had. You want me to go through his like specific baskets? He had
no. Like, so he didn't play until this. He checked into the game. I'm saying, like, he comes in
the first half.
No. So he comes in with 5:33 left in the third quarter. We finally, again, this is part of the Derrick Rose into Quickly shift that Tibbs created, where my best bench guy is going to come in with about 5 minutes left in the second quarter and then never leave the game. But you got to just eat your vegetables with Elfrid Payton and Alex Burks at the point in the first for the first 6-7 minutes to start the game.
Well, we should say they were down 16 to start the third, and when Quickly checked in, they were down
20.
So
5:33. And what's the score? 81-61. The score you're talking about, which is why this run, a 16-3 run to end the quarter over the final 5:33, started when you took RJ Barrett off the floor and put in Emmanuel Quickly. A conversation and a substitution that led to a conversation for the next year and a half of Emmanuel Quickly should be playing. One of your inefficient forwards shouldn't.
So we came in, basically dispensed with most of the deficit. It was a very close game throughout the entire fourth quarter. I think the biggest lead for either team in the fourth quarter, the Celtics actually did get back up by 8 briefly in the fourth quarter. Fournier back-to-back buckets to cut into that. Tatum made a 3. Then Randle goes on a little run. Another 4. It was a really, really tense fourth quarter. And then that got us to 98, got us to 101-99. Celtics have the lead, and that's when the lob that I just mentioned happened with 1:19 to go.
Yeah, that's one of the. I actually have to play 2 plays before it. It's part of the. There's a version of the 48-3 to give the Knicks their first lead of the game. That suddenly let me know, the Knicks might actually win this game. So you went through the game log and the play-by-play, I should say. They were down 57-32. Quickly comes back in. and the Fournier show starts, and then the Randle show starts. That's 16. I have the run specifically as a 16-3 run to end the quarter in the third. Okay. And the reason that run in specifically, I think, is where you need to cut it off. The last 4 points of this run are Julius Randle, an offensive rebound, an up and under and one, and he starts barking at the crowd.
Yes.
Then the next play, he misses the free throw, comes back down, bully ball on Grant Williams and Robert Williams, makes a layup, and is barking at the crowd. They do a camera pan to his wife and son, who are usually cheering him on during the game, and they're startled because, like, okay, what is happening to him? Like, he's clearly amped, and in one of the slow motion versions of Randle, when they show the replay, you could see him yell to the crowd, "Fuck you talking about?" Like, basically saying, why, like, this is, you guys are criticizing me, and he's barking at the Knicks crowd. So then he sits the first 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, cools down. His first bucket, which you're talking about, after Fournier's three cut it to one possession, Tatum hits a three to put him up 6. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, the Celtics weathered the storm. Randle then comes down, attacks a Robert Williams closeout, gets to the basket, but Horford rotates over, actually stops him, and he makes a tough 2 over Horford to cut it back down to 4.
96-92.
96-92. And then he gives a thumbs down to the crowd. And it's why, like, there's a lot of really good Julius Randle in the second half. He's playing with intensity and toughness and everything we saw during the We Here season. It's remembered for one motion. Like, the thumbs down really came after the yelling at the crowd and what seemed to get him going, which led to them winning this game.
So 2 things. Number one, it wasn't all good down the stretch from Julius Randle because so they go up by 3. So RJ gets so quickly. So there's the RJ lob to Mitch, puts him up 2. Quickly ties the game. Quickly makes a shot that puts him up 2.
103, 101. Yeah.
RJ gets fouled, makes 1 of 2, puts him up 3. And then there's an intentional foul on Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart goes to the line, hits both.
Wasn't intentional.
It was just regular foul.
He drove to the basket. Yeah. People watch the game. Like, the Knicks tried to play defense on a play. He tried to draw contact, and then misses a layup, but he hits the call.
Gets fouled, makes 2 free throws. Then Randle gets fouled, and he misses the first.
Yep. Near turnover on the inbounds. Tibbs, use your timeouts. They inbound from the backcourt. Randle goes up and gets it like a wide receiver, tries to dribble the clock out. They eventually foul him.
And then after the game, so our buddy Fred tweeted this out. So Bondi asked the question, cameras caught you giving thumbs down to the crowd. What was that about? Randle's response, shut the fuck up. And the follow-up question, to whom? Randle's response, what are you talking about? To who? He just said to who. So I think that to whom was someone else said that, not Bondi. And then the next question, is it in response to something? Answer, you saw that. You saw what was going on with that. That was it. Yeah.
That the thumbs down, though, again, my rewatch of the game and specifically the second half, the thumbs down is the final piece of it. I know it's the lasting image, but the end of the third quarter, that last minute, if you want to timestamp it, folks, it's the Knicks are down by 13 or maybe 11 at the end of the third quarter. With under a minute left, he makes 2 buckets and is just yelling obscenities at the crowd as they're cheering him. And it's like, oh, now you're cheering me? You guys are cheering that I had COVID a week ago. And it was just like the most recent game, I'm at the free throw line and you're cheering for my teammate, while I'm about to get to 30 points. And there was very clearly a tension that was building throughout the first 3 months of that season. And this is where it exploded.
Yeah, I don't. What was the most good graces that Randle was in with the fan base?
We Hear.
No, after this.
After this, we're going to talk about the game later on the countdown. But when he turned himself back into an All-NBA player, didn't miss a game the first, 77, 76 games of the following season when Jalen Brunson was there, he had turned his whole image around then. And then, the season after when they traded for Anunoby, there was a month where it looked like he could be part of a championship contender, but that season will be remembered for what they looked like when OG Anunoby was healthy and he wasn't there. And it's like, oh, maybe we could be this instead.
Okay. Player of the game. Again, this is, I don't know. To me, it's easy. It's Evan Fournier.
It's very clearly Evan Fournier.
So the stat line for Evan Fournier, so I pull it up right here. So
41 points on 15 of 25 shooting, 10 of 14 from three.
Insane.
I know you can look at a box score and say, oh, wow, he had a great game. Like I have it. When I take notes, I chart the game. I keep score like this, John. Look at the camera. Okay.
I see it.
So
I don't want to look directly at it. It's like looking directly into the sun.
So Fournier has 12 in the first quarter. The Knicks only had 18 in the first quarter. So he's like their entire offense. They go down big, again, down by 25 in the first half. He still gets 7 in the second. In the third and fourth quarter, with Jason Tatum going off, because Jason Tatum in this game is my other candidate for player of the game. He has 36, and it's largely in the second, third, and fourth quarter because he only had 2 in the first quarter. Evan Fournier in the second half of this game, 9 in the third, 13 in the fourth. The threes he is hitting in this game, he actually had a nice 2-man game going with Julius Randle with the dribble handoffs, and Fournier is just, I have a little bit of space. Great. He's hitting catch and shoot threes. He's hitting these threes in the corner where he's fully contested and decides, I'll just fade out of bounds. And he hits like these threes. One of the craziest 3-point performances a Knick has ever had. And I say that knowing that what's coming 2 years later is Dante DiVincenzo. And what is coming after that is either Jalen Brunson or Karl-Anthony Towns, or I have to add OG Anunoby in the finals to that list as well.
And then, it is really truly crazy to say this, but coming into this season, the 21-22 season with the Knicks, Evan Fournier's career high was 32 points. That's this season alone. He had 32 or more 3 times. All 3 came against the Boston Celtics.
So was it opening night, this game, and then the game
where
Kemba played?
And then 114-107 loss in December.
Yeah, that's the game Kemba returned to the rotation because the Knicks had 4 players that didn't have Omicron.
Just absolutely. One of the crazier Knicks stats I think you could ever imagine.
It's part of the Fournier calculation when talking about this game is he just owned the Celtics this season and then just never played for the Knicks again. So he really never played in the NBA after.
I was about to say he wasn't really a relevant NBA player after this, unfortunately. Did have that what the other game is I'll always remember him for because it actually contributed to a season that mattered was the Philly game. Where he came off the bench, they dusted him off. That's right.
On a Sunday. It was it was not a matinee, it was an afternoon. And he was the 11th guy and he came in and I think RJ got sick right before the game and they announced it and he came in and lo and behold, they won.
Unsung hero of the game. Again, to me, the very definition of unsung hero of a game is Immanuel Quickley, although you could get cute and say that Julius Randle's the unsung hero of the game because of everything he did in the second half.
We do not prep at all together. I wrote down 2 names, Julius Randle, Immanuel Quickley. Quickley for doing what he did literally anytime he came to the game, it felt like. Just kind of rebalancing things because he would push the pace. His gravity was recognized. There's the Randle shot that led to free throws. That cut it to 96-94 in the fourth quarter. He, Fournier, and Quickley run the Spain, and it gets Randle with Time Lord on him, and then everybody has to honor the 2 shooters that are now next to him, and Randle gets downhill and it leads to free throws. Like that play just didn't exist in the first half when he's standing next to RJ, and a center with Mitch in the dunker spot. So I wrote down Taj Gibson as well. Some big rebounds and some good defense in the second half as well as part of the comeback. But yeah,
20 minutes.
Right. Really big minutes in the second half. Really good defense in the second half. The Celtics played a little bit into their hands, but
when have they ever done that?
Listen, I got a category is going to lead to me talking about that later for sure. But yeah, this is a Immanuel Quickley not masterpiece, but one of the examples of, didn't have the flashiest stat line, but if you saw it, you saw the impact when he was on the floor.
Yeah, 100%. I think Quickley has to be the answer. On a different note, poor performer of the game. Did they win the game despite this particular player? Hurts me to do this. But my guy, Alec Burks.
Okay.
You have a different answer. Interesting.
I know Burks went 1 for 10 in this game. RJ Barrett was awful.
Yeah, but I mean, 1 for 10. Trust me, part of the reason why even that night, I remember doing the post game that night. That night, I had trouble lavishing all of the praise on RJ Barrett because of how atrocious he was in the first 44 to 45 minutes of the basketball game. I mean, Burks 1 for 10 though. That's pretty gnarly.
Look, pick your poison. Maybe we both have different answers for this. In rewatching the game, all the RJ flaws were on display in the first half. Understanding, spacing, like not with someone in the dunker, he's either not lobbing, going one-on-one at Rob Williams and getting blocked twice. He was 3 of 14 until he hit a bank shot fadeaway 3 and just missed a free throw down the stretch that had a chance to make it a 4-point game.
Yeah.
So actually the definition that you put here of did they win the game despite a particular player? They won because he hit the 3, but like they were largely about to go to overtime because RJ was pretty bad and played in a lot of high leverage moments.
RJ would have been my answer if he didn't make another 2 or 3 plays down the stretch.
One other caveat, Burks had, and this is something I noticed as part of the comeback, Burks had 9 rebounds in this game and was just pushing the pace every time he got a rebound in the second half. Again, I'm not trying to make an excuse for a guy that shot 1 for 10. I just thought he was contributing more to the comeback when I rewatched it. And then we pointed to the run of the game being quickly in for RJ. And it was like, oh, great. Now we have another shooter on the floor.
I think the difference between Alec Burks and between RJ Barrett and a lot of players, one of which was Alec Burks. Alec Burks could have a rough shooting game, and like a lot of guys, you don't feel like he's killing you because he does some other things out there. When RJ was having not just like a bad shooting game, but when he was having I don't know, an RJ game, you felt it. And I always struggle because I felt it in my bones, and I'm like, this has to just be a me thing. But I don't think it was just a me thing. I think there were a lot of people who kind of felt that way watching.
Alec Burks, no turnovers in this game too. Now RJ only had 1, so I'm not like it wasn't. The Knicks only had 11 turnovers in this game, so it wasn't a crazy game. But yeah, I think if we want to each say Barrett and Burks, that's the answer, with the caveat that you're probably more right because RJ hit the game-winning shot. I also wrote the name Jaylen Brown down. Jaylen Brown had 12 points in the first quarter, had 4 the rest of the game. And we could talk about his shot selection, which I think is what the entire Celtics analytics department was talking about. This game being a poster child for that. With Tatum going off, he really didn't have any help the last 2.5 quarters of this game. So
Tatum made some shots in this game.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
I have another category that, because you had the oh shit moment of the game. I've renamed it. It's the Macri moment of the game. Moment you thought New York was going to lose.
Mine was when Tatum tied it with the free throw.
Yep.
Or with, no, sorry.
After Randle and RJ missed the free throw each, Tatum hits a step back in RJ's face to tie the game at 105, leaving 1.1 on the clock, or 1.8 left on the clock, leading to the buzzer beater that we got.
Yeah, that was certainly my moment. Okay. Did the game change anyone's legacy on either team?
Unfortunately, yes.
Who was it for you?
Julius Randle.
That's my answer as well.
We've had a long conversation about why. And I think some people still haven't gotten over it personally. How I view this, Yeah,
I just think it's tough to talk about his Knicks career without. It feels like an omission, like a purposeful omission. If you're gonna tell me about Julius Randle's a Knicks. Okay, well, yeah. If you leave this out, I don't know. It would.
Look, I think it's 5 checkpoints. I think he came here as the consolation prize. It's we here. It's this game. It's a shot in Miami, and then it's a shoulder injury.
Yeah,
it's 5 checkpoints. There's many points to a story, and I think these have some highs and lows.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster ride. Okay. I'm fascinated by what you say to this. Does this game go on any player's personal Mount Rushmore? The top 4 games that they will be remembered. The implication is top 4 games that they'll be remembered for as Knicks.
There's a very easy yes to one player.
So the easy yes is Fournier.
Correct.
And yet, no, it's.
Oh, I think I know where you're going. Okay.
No, it's just he's, like I said earlier, he's the 4th. He's an afterthought when a Knicks fan thinks about this game.
Okay, but that's not the question. Like, there's no other game we're gonna have where it's like, oh, Fournier was the number one thought. It's probably more of a bad thing.
It's on his Mount Rushmore. It's on his Mount Rushmore for sure. But I think the bigger reason it's on his Mount Rushmore is because he just doesn't have that many great games with the Knicks. But in terms of when my brain is mashed potatoes 20 or 30 years from now, and I'm thinking of Evan Fournier's Knicks career, I think I'll remember the season opener first, probably.
Mm-hmm. I'll remember this.
I'll remember the Philly game, honestly, because I remember that mattered.
So that's 3.
Yeah. No, it's on the Rushmore. Right. Yeah. Now, the interesting one for me, and I could tell you're not even going to remotely entertain this. This does not go on RJ's Mount Rushmore?
I thought about it. I think he scored his first 40-point game against the Heat a month later.
So is it 4 best, or is it like the 4 games that you will remember most? If it's the 4 best, it's not.
I think it's got to be the 4 best games is how we remember you. Or maybe it's most memorable. No, that's what Mount Rushmore is, allegedly.
For me, I thought of the Miami game, 46-point game, first game after the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm.
I thought of pick your Cleveland series game. For me, it's game 3. And then, honestly, I think this might be it for me. This might be like the 3rd game that I remember. And then, honestly, the 4th game that I remember, and I don't think it's going to it doesn't make our list. It's going to be an honorable mention, is the first Leon Rose game.
So, I love you, John.
Yes.
I'm now going to add more context as someone who didn't watch RJ Barrett's Knicks career the way you did, and maybe we'll remember more highs that existed. So you have the Cleveland game as the game 3 as his, I know he was 8 for 12 in that game. Sure.
19 points. Yeah.
Right. He had 26 points in game 4. So I even think you could go there. You could also go to game 5 of the series against Miami, where he had 26 points in an elimination game. You could go to that. I understand you'll remember, if we're thinking RJ against Miami, we're going to think about 1 for 10 in game 6, first and foremost. The start of the 9-game winning streak in the We Here season happened with RJ Barrett hitting 3 big free throws against Memphis to send the game into overtime. He also hit a running layup to tie the game at the very end. Then they won.
I remember the running layup.
So the 3 big free throws are what I remember because it's all 5 points they needed to tie the game and send it into overtime. They win. I'm doing the post game that night, the second post game I've ever done. I forget whether this wasn't when your daughter was born. It was a different reason that you needed somebody to do the post game for you. And I had hung a hoodie behind me just out of like, oh, I got a new hoodie and I have no place to hang it. So just for good luck, because the Knicks are trailing in the third quarter, I'll hang this. And then they went on a run and didn't lose for 3 straight weeks. I was like, I'm never putting this hoodie down. And that was one of the first, like somebody sent in a picture of, because they had gotten our merch, gotten our hoodie. And it's like, hey, I've got Claudio's hoodie behind me during the winning streak. And little KFS 101, there are 2 hoodies still hanging behind me in honor of that RJ game and that season. Proud that one of those now has a Larry O'Brien trophy on it for sure, with the KFS logo. But that for me is the way more positive RJ moment that I'll think about.
Okay. I mean, again, there's a good argument. For me personally, I think this game, even though the shot, again, as I've already said, it's not as important to me in the game as the thumbs down. I think it goes on my Mount Rushmore for RJ.
I think it's in the conversation for sure because they won the game because of the shot. It's the thumbnail. So that's the Josh Hart argument all over again. How can the thumbnail not be on someone's Mount Rushmore?
Coach's corner. Was there a great or terrible coaching move for either team that stood out? I mean,
I have one. But it's not anti either. It's not. I don't want to have the Tibbs quickly conversing.
I was going to say, thank God, amidst widespread disbelief, there was one coach that believed in Emmanuel Quickly to play him, have him be the only player that played the entire fourth quarter.
So that's very funny, and especially with how the next month of our lives would go, and maybe someone not seeing the flaws in a human.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That human being Emmanuel Quickly. We didn't see the flaws in him. And how dare we question that Tibbs would not play him as many minutes as he wasn't playing him. And Alec Burks in his 1 for 10 needed to be the point guard of this team. I have a funnier moment going into the fourth quarter after the Knicks had cut it down to 7 at the end of 3. Allie LaForce is interviewing Tom Thibodeau back when you had to do coaches interviews in between the first quarter and second, and then the third and the fourth.
Yeah.
So she interviews Tibbs. And here's the quote. And this is, again, January 6th, 2022. He goes, "We play low energy. It's not going to be good. We got to play with intensity." And he's commenting about how we finally started to play with pace and play with energy. And I just, watching this now in 2026 and knowing what then would happen about a year later, it's like, don't worry, Tom. Josh Hart is right around the corner. You're going to have somebody that's only going to play with high energy and intensity and with pace, and then you're never gonna not play him.
It's funny.
Don't worry, Tom. Josh Hart is right around the corner.
God, I actually looked at a different Tibbs quote. I looked at the Tibbs quote from after the Pacer game. Before this game, he lavished praise on Randle for like the guy was just in health and safety protocols. He came in, he gave that effort. Reminded me that like Tibbs, like I don't think he ever said a bad word about Julius Randle.
Went out of his way. The play the kids game that didn't make the list at the end of the season where. Finally, we got to see what they could do without Julius Randle. And he went out of his way to be like, yeah, everybody needs to be part of this. Julius, too, just to make sure. Because there was a psychological aspect to having Julius Randle on your team that he understood. And he knew he had to, like, publicly, I got to give this guy his flowers. Because if this team's doing anything, we're going to need him. And I always understood it, even if I wished he would just play him 30 minutes. You know, you could mix it up a little bit.
Ideal watch in person at a bar, live watch along, or in solitude.
Easy answer for us.
For me, I actually am switching it up. I think this is a great bar game because the team was frustrating, and so they're going down by a bunch. You're just getting hammered. And then they're making the comeback, and then you're already hammered, so it becomes a lot of fun. And then you're in a packed bar for that shot.
Well, okay. You're right in that a good bar game is a comeback with a buzzer beater like this. For sure.
And you're amongst a bunch of people there when he does the thumbs down, and you're all looking at each other like, did he just Did you just give a thumbs down, or did you get to have that experience?
You're 100% right as far as the. So our just to add context, our first ever watch along was this game.
Was it really?
What the fuck? You gotta be kidding me!
Shout out to Rich McLeod because the game was on a delay. Our feed on playback was on a delay. And so the shot happens and he immediately knew their reactions are going to be something we need to see. And he screen recorded. And to this day, the only version of our reactions are his screen record because they didn't have in their interface yet the ability to go clip the last 30 minute, 3 minutes, whatever. So
I actually remember those reactions.
Yeah, you kicked your feet up and then you disappeared immediately to go do the post game rather than. And then Jeremy and I were like, "What the f just happened?" They hit it, and so yeah,
that was so funny.
Yeah, but that was like me, you, and Jeremy watching the game together online. It created that moment for watch-alongs. You're right in that if I had several dozen Knicks fans to hug after that RJ shot goes in, it would have been pandemonium. So yeah, it's definitely a good bar game.
Ideal drink, meal, or drug?
All you.
I think it's a beer game. This is a game I'm just chugging beers.
I think the first half is a good cyanide game. And then the second half is a good champagne game, you know. Pop a bottle after the shot goes in.
Okay. Last two. This one actually I don't even think this is an interesting conversation. What if they lost, i.e. how might history have changed? I don't. This is going to feed into my answer to the next question. I think this game was utterly inconsequential. Other than the Randle stuff, like if the game doesn't happen and Randle never does the thumb down, is his legacy more forgiving? I guess.
So Jonathan Macri, I need you to be more imaginative. How's the question read, John? How might history have changed?
Are you giving me the Celtics angle?
There's a Celtics angle to this. The Celtics fell to 18-21 after this game. There was talk about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum potentially being like one of them being a trade candidate at this deadline because this was their fourth loss in their previous 6 games. They were hovering around a 7 seed with first-year head coach Ime Udoka. And it was like, okay, now what do we do if we can't even beat the Knicks when we have a 25-point lead in the game? Again, they fell to 18-21 after this game. What followed after this rock bottom point for the Celtics was a 33-10 stretch to end the regular season and 3 straight playoff rounds in which they won against the Nets in 4, the Celtics in 7, the Heat in 7. The Bucks in 7, the Heat in 7, and then made it to the finals that year. If they win that game, if the Celtics hold on and survive, maybe they're not as red hot because the talks intensify around how rock bottom felt, and maybe they're just like a 5 seed instead. You know, this clearly was a rock bottom moment for the Celtics that they needed to hit before a historic run for their franchise happened.
So I don't disagree with you. We should say they made a pretty important trade this season.
During the season?
Hold on, unless I'm imagining this. I'm pretty sure this is the year. Hold on, I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, they traded away Dennis Schroeder.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And because Schroeder was not working out, as he is as wont to do at times, and they traded him away on February 10th. They also traded away Enes Kanter to Houston for Daniel Tice, and I don't think that was their only transaction. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. Unless I'm maybe going crazy. They traded to
You're talking about Derek White, right?
No, the Derek White trade was not.
I didn't think that was this season.
It was not this year. But hold on. I'm looking if there's another trade that they made.
I didn't think that. What player are you thinking of?
Maybe I'm just thinking of that they got rid of Schroeder. I think that's what I'm thinking. Because I just remember that Schroeder was just not working out with them.
Oh, and he was great in this game. I'll tell you that much.
Yes, he was good in this game, but
yeah.
in general, he was not working out for them. And they needed, I think, moving on from him was a positive.
It's not the significant trade I think you're referring to. I'll say that. I think I forget who they got for him that year, but like the run had started by the time they made the Schroeder trade. I thought you were going to the Al Horford route, which was an off-season trade. And we know this because the Thunder just wanted the first-round pick, and it was Al Horford for Kemba Walker, who they then bought out, and then he signed with the Knicks.
No.
Yeah. It's just an interesting angle of maybe they win this game and just kind of hover around 500 for the next week and a half. And then maybe they're looking at Jaylen Brown trades then. Instead, they hit rock bottom and they go on this. I just remember, like, I thought the Knicks were on the Celtics level. Then I just kept looking up at the box scores for the next 2-3 weeks after this game. And every game, the Celtics are winning by double digits. So, yeah, right after this game, they lose this one. Then they win 3 straight. Then they lose one. Then they win. There's a 9-game winning streak later on in January.
They completely, as you said, they completely flipped their season. The crazy thing is, after this game, they had a worse record than the Knicks.
Right.
Knicks were 19-20. The Celtics were 18-21. The thing that I had forgotten until I looked up the statistics, I in my mind was like, oh, the Knicks season started to go into the tank after this game. That was not the case. They won this game, then they got their doors blown off by Boston the very next game because they played it back to back, and then they won 3 more games in a row.
Yep.
And they were feeling good. They were 22-21. They were over 500 for the first time since, I don't know, the 4th game of the season or whatever, or the first couple weeks. And then they lost, what was it, 15 of 18, I think?
17 of 20.
17 of 20.
Which did coincide with Kemba coming back, I will say.
Last category. Place on the championship quilt. How does this game factor into the larger championship story? Place on the quilt, size of the patch, etc. Should it go on the quilt? Think about it.
So here's my answer. The actual Julius Randle thumbs down, RJ's buzzer beater, obviously nothing with Evan Fournier, mattered in the context of the Knicks winning a title. Boston built a 25-point lead and then started taking threes, and the blueprint for how to beat them was on full display in the second half. They went 6 for 22 from 3 in the second half of this game and didn't stop taking threes. And this game, I want to say I turned to Matt Hederman when we were watching the game at T-Squared, game 1 against the Celtics in 2025, being like, hey, they were down big in the first half, and the Celtics just wouldn't stop taking threes of the RJ game, of the thumbs down game. Maybe that can happen again here. And it feels like that's been the Celtics, like this core's MO, or really that core's MO, because it doesn't exist anymore, that when they go up big, they're not going to stop taking threes, which then lead to long rebounds, which can lead to transition points. And Tibbs, I want to say he filed that away, that if we get down big against this team, just keep protecting the rim, they'll settle for threes. And now the inverse of that is they turn a 22-point lead into a 32 and a 42-point lead, especially when they get the shooters out there. But if the shooting variance goes our way, we have a chance to get back in the game with pace and with the easy buckets that they're going to give us, because they're settling for threes and we're getting out and running, which not only came back to help the Knicks beat the Celtics in 2025, but then became the DNA for how they beat the Spurs in Game 4 of the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
When they're settling for threes the entire second half, it's a young team that's giving what the defense is giving them. So while it's probably just like the tag on the quilt, I do think it is like part of the longer conversation of what helped the Knicks overall DNA. And this is a testament to Tom Thibodeau and understanding like the game's never over until it's actually over. And obviously an entirely different group of players is going to be who gets suggested, who ends up taking the Knicks to the promised land. But yeah, that's the element I would say. If you're going to add anything to the quilt, it's this.
Last thing.
Where'd you go?
I just sat back in my chair.
Okay. You just got really low on the screen. That's all.
Right back.
Okay, cool.
I'm hearing you say that as the precursor, right, for the playoff series, which again we'll get to, and then thinking about just all the other games they played against Boston. Like again, spoiler alert: there's going to be another Boston regular season game on this list. There have been a couple other regular like ones that don't like stand out to this degree, but like there have been several memorable regular season games against the Celtics over this stretch. Like we should probably do an episode at some point of like top 5 Knick rivals of this era.
We did well, I guess this era is different than overall. Yeah.
Because I think you could make arguments for at least 5 different teams. If not,
does Boston crack? Where does Boston fall on the list for you?
I think they have to be in the top 5.
Okay, but top 5, not easy 1.
I actually don't know if they have an argument for number 1. I don't think they do.
I don't think they have a top 3 angle for me at the moment.
Oh, I think they have a top 3 argument. I think they have a top 3 argument when you consider how many times they've played. When you consider, it's weird because like even if you're only considering this era, which again, that's how I phrase the question. I think it's okay to bring in history. Like if you entered this era with some history, that should maybe factor in a little bit. I'm not saying it carries a ton of weight. Yeah, I don't know. They would be, for me, they would be in heavy contention for a top 3 spot. I think so.
I have Indiana over them. I have Philly over them. I have Miami over them. I have
Miami over them at all.
They eliminated the Knicks. The Celtics didn't. They lost.
I don't have Miami over them at all. I think
I easily have them over them. Spo?
Really?
You kidding? Easily. John, the Celtics lost to the Knicks. I'm not concerned if you lost to me.
To me, that doesn't factor in
to the rivalry. You think there's no history with the Knicks and the Heat?
No, to me, how like have there been battles?
There have been Knicks Heat battles. There's going to be an even higher Knicks Heat game on this list.
Oh, see, I actually don't even. So to me, the reason why the Heat wouldn't even be in contention for a top 5 spot for me is because I know that series went to 6 games, and I know they were a play away from pushing it through a game 7. That series didn't even feel like a battle to me. That was like the Heat came in game 1, took care of business. The one game they knew they needed to get, and then the rest of the series was chalk. The home game won all the rest of the games. Like whereas I could think of so many games that they've played with the Celtics, including the games, as you mentioned, that they won in the playoff series that were just all time wars. I think arguably the greatest regular season game. I don't think it made it's number 1 on our list, but I think there's an argument for the greatest regular season game of Leon Rose's era was against Boston Celtics. You know,
wait, which game are you going to? The Bing Bong game?
No, double.
Then what?
The Quickly game.
Oh, that's not the number 1 regular season game.
I know it's not, and I get that, but whatever. I don't want to give away the list before we get to the list, but
right.
My point is that there's a lot of big time Boston games, and I understand there have been some big Miami games, but the reason why it's not in contention for number one for me is not because of Miami. It's because I think Cleveland is a great argument for number one. I think Indiana is a great argument for number one. And I think at this point, San Antonio is a great argument for number one.
Yeah, you just named 3 teams that are ahead of Boston for me. I don't know what it is that I'm doing that all my Boston animosity is like brought in from other sports. Like the Jets hate the Patriots, the Yankees hate the Reds. That. I know you don't. I'm answering for me, John. I'm saying like if you're personally saying for Boston, they have a case for top 3. Boston in general, fine. The Celtics, I mean, if they had played each other during the DiVincenzo season and we got a classic series then, and then they played again the next year and the Knicks beat them.
Let me ask you something. Hold on. How many of these other teams that we're talking about have won a championship during this time?
None, but who cares?
Okay, so you're telling me, okay, well, this is not relevant. The way I phrased the question was the way I phrased the question.
Right. Like,
if the Knicks and Celtics played each other in like the Eastern Conference Finals this year, I think the rivalry would have a chance to vault to number one.
Yeah. So I'll recalculate when we get to the conference finals this year. I do think you personally answering this question with the Celtics were your bugaboo all season. You watched them basically have a why not now version of their team that was beaten down by injuries, but they tried hard. And you were like, they got some shit to them, and there's no chance that the Knicks beat them. And then what I suspected would happen
I never said there was no chance.
You didn't?
No,
not publicly.
I don't even think I said privately. There's no chance.
Jonathan. Yeah, you see, I need Jared from Fanatics to.
I said
pull up the receipts, buddy.
I said I would have picked the Celtics to beat the Knicks.
That's not what you said. You said they have no chance. You said they have no shot, which is like fine. Like a lot of people felt the way you did. That's fine. I also didn't think the Celtics were this unbeatable team because they had a bunch of great regular season games. I thought that they were overperforming in the regular season during a season where 10 teams stopped trying, and it led to a 56, 57 win season. And then in the playoffs, I was like, so how are all these
1 year?
Right. I'm talking about this season in particular. Like,
yeah. And I'm talking about rivalry for this era.
I wasn't even talking about the rivalry. I was specifically talking about how you treated Boston this year. I never had them in their plot armor that Jeff Stock talks about as that high. I think their championship plot armor from 2 years ago led to why beating Boston last year felt like it was less about beating a rival. It was about beating the defending champs for me. Whereas they beat Indiana this upcoming season. I mean, the thing that will supersede that for me throughout this run will be that they won the title. Like the only thing I will put above that is that they beat the Spurs to win the title. Next on the list, let's get this Indiana bugaboo off the list.
Yeah, I don't know that I care about that much.
I know you don't. And for some reason, the Celtics, and this might also just be the history that you talk about, where you bring in maybe some stuff from the 80s, maybe some from the championship years.
Honestly, I don't bring in any of that. I just think these two teams have played in a lot of great games over this 6 year.
They have. No, I'll give you that. They have. That's the Cavs too. If that's the whole argument, then that's fine.
That's to me. That's the entire.
But it's one playoff series is where I'm going to. But the playoffs are what matters the most. Then playoffs build rivalries. It's why the Spurs have a better case for me.
And I guess my comeback to that is when these two teams get together, often it feels like a playoff game. And maybe that's because of the shared history. Maybe it is because they're two of the old teams in the sport. Like,
I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think it's a New York Boston thing that you're not able to identify with. Maybe you're bringing in the shared history, but Knicks fans, New Yorkers like to say "fuck Boston." That's just like the icing on the cake at the end of a win over the Celtics. Is you get to post a clip from what was that show, Winning Time, of Jason Segel. Repeat after me, fuck Boston. Like that's the entirety of the animosity I think Knicks fans have for Celtics fans, is that we don't like Boston. We're New York,
Yeah. I don't know. I just, this to me, I'm I could end here. I'm happy it made the list because I now that I'm thinking it through even more, like, I think it's good that an extra Boston game is on here for me.
Well, good. I'm glad for you that there's an extra Boston game. I'm glad one of the many times that Boston took a double-digit lead on the Knicks and lost is on this list because it became part of a reputation this team would build over the Leon Rose era. The never say die, the never out of it, the comeback kids. And, we saw that reputation. You saw as far as the championship quilt is concerned. We saw that reputation fully realized in the playoffs when no matter when the Knicks went down and, some Macri moments might have happened. The rest of the country was like, no, that's the Knicks. Like, they're not out of it yet. Like,
it was a good rename by you. I appreciate that.
Listen, the Macri moment is very clearly, when did you think they were going to lose? And then they eventually won, because the one of those in every game we're going to talk about.
I just got an email from my fantasy football league commissioner. I'm picking third. Is that good?
How many QBs in your league?
One.
Man, a 1 QB league.
Andrew, when I tell you, sitting here right now, I don't even know. I wouldn't even be able to wager a guess as to who the first pick in this draft is.
Okay. I gotta be honest, I'm right there with you now.
You're a football fan.
No, John, I barely paid attention to the NFL really the last calendar year. We just,
Hold on. Let me try to guess who the top running back in the sport is right now.
I don't even think I would be able to. Hold on.
Pull up a list.
I'm going to the NFL stats page and just going to go rushing yards
do the
last
stats
season.
Page. Do like the fantasy. It's because
okay.
Good fantasy isn't always good stats and vice versa.
Fantasy rankings.
Is it
courtesy of ESPN and PPR leagues? By the way,
wonderful. Is it Bijan Robinson? Is he up there?
I will tell you in a second. I got to scroll down. Running back.
No.
Nope.
Not even in the anywhere near the top.
Bijan Robinson. I don't see him. Maybe he is, and I'm just missing it. But the number one name on this list is Christian McCaffrey.
Niners. No,
yes.
Is he still with the Niners?
Still with the Niners. Okay. I'm going to go to a different list. This sucks.
I know who he is. I would not have said his name number one overall, though.
Jahmyr Gibbs. Bijan Robinson is the second ranked according to NFL.com.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so
you're right.
Far off.
McCaffrey's number 3. Jahmyr Gibbs of the
Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions is number 1.
Okay.
Number 4 plays for the Colts.
Jonathan Taylor.
There you go. Number 5 plays for the Los Angeles Rams of Inglewood.
So running back?
Yes.
I no idea.
Kyron Williams. And then the 6th one is, I think, going to make the Hall of Fame one day, is the running back for the Ravens.
Oh,
played for Tennessee for a while.
I know.
And Alabama.
Hold on. Just give me a second. Give me a half a second.
2,000 yards one season.
Just stop. It's like the Shabbat thing with the freaking
the sport.
Derrick Henry.
Yes, there you go.
There it is. Okay.
So those are the top 6 running backs in the NFL this season, according to NFL.com's fantasy player rankings.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'll end up with one of them. So that's good, I guess, right?
There you go.
Great. Okay, this was fun.
I'm glad we're doing the list this way. Personally,
I'm glad we're doing the list this way.
I'm looking forward to now bouncing around rather than just rotating which playoff series we want to talk about at different times.
Yeah.
I can't recommend it enough if you're looking for something to watch because you're missing the Knicks or missing Knicks basketball. I've hyperlinked the League Pass link directly to the game in the episode description. If you're just like I don't want to go to a movie, or your baseball team is out of it and they're awful and they just traded everybody that wasn't bolted to the floor, by all means, please rewatch at least the 30-minute, like, all possessions version of this game after hearing us talk about it. It's a rewarding second half watch. I'll say that.
Listen, More Evan Fournier is exactly what people want.
He's awesome at this game. He's so freaking good at this game.
It's exactly what the Knicks should have thought they were getting when they signed him.
There you go.
All right, Andrew, you're the best. Thanks everybody for checking out the For Real this time though. First episode of our Best 20 Games Leon Rose Era series. We will have 2 more of these shows coming at you next week, and then every week, and then we may load up on 3 a week if we get in a time crunch.
We'll worry about that in September. You get 2 from us next week. First one starting on Monday.
Okay, that's it. We'll talk to you pretty soon. Peace out.